Just like the street lights lit this town, like a fire in a blaze, gotta burn it down. Can't be afraid to leave this out. We got this far, don't know how. I see danger in your eyes. They know we'll burn down the night. Coming just like the sunrise. You know that we're gonna let it rain. Tonight, we're gonna let it rain. Tonight, we're gonna let it rain. Just like the sunrise, we're gonna let it rain. Just like a spark that's breaking out. Can't make a stop, can't turn back now. We know that there's no room for doubt. No, we can't turn back now. I see danger in your eyes. They know we'll burn down the night. Coming just like the sunrise. You know that we're gonna let it rain. Tonight, we're gonna let it rain. Tonight, we're gonna let it rain. Just like the sunrise, we're gonna let it rain.
Hey guys, welcome in, welcome in, welcome in, welcome in. My background's different. I may change it up. If it's too light for you, let me know. But welcome into the channel. Welcome into tonight's live. Hopefully everybody's having a great start to your month. It is the 5th of March. I cannot believe it. Every time I say the date, I can't believe we're this far into the new year. But welcome in, everybody. I have an eyelash in my eye, so I'm sorry that I'm like blinking funky right now. But my name is Tanya, or TitaniumBuilt. If you're new to the channel, we do talk true crime daily here. That's our thing. So if you want to subscribe, we'd love to have you. And we'd love to have you in the chat. If you're new, let us know where you're from. Look at this. Nash Native was in here. We got Dawn. Hey, everybody. Hey, Ladybug. Hey, Just Breathe. Welcome in, everybody. If you guys don't mind, just take a second, hit that like button. I was using my cup earlier today. Ladybug, or not Ladybug, Mary Beth got me from Orion Mia. I drank some hot chocolate. Finally had some hot chocolate today. Seems like I'm like really high up. I don't know. But welcome in. Hey, Ashley. Hopefully you came back. Hey, Catherine. Hey, Lisa. Hey, little mama. Hey, Karina. It's good to see everybody. Hey, Mandy. Hey, Spilled Beans. Hey, Cole. Hey, Seam Check 11. Hey, Tempest. Hey, Warflare. Welcome in. It's good to see you guys. Hey, Ruby Slippers. It was the frat boys. Yeah. I want to know what everyone thinks about this whole thing with the DNA. Because when I first saw it, I was like, what? And then I had to go, do some research. But the thing is, the document that everybody, people have it, so it's there. But when I go to click on the document, it says it's like a page error. And I'm like, are you kidding? But I have it. But I'm just like, so crazy. Thanks, spilled beans. Got me some more hair. Thanks, Mary. I appreciate it. Hey, Grunter. I did it for you guys. I wanted to look prettier for you. I haven't really followed their movements. No, I can't say I have. Never really went down that that avenue, I guess, with this case. But right now they are doing a special on Court TV, and they are talking about the DNA. So I figured I like paused it. I don't know how far in they are, or like if it'll like let us catch up. Let me see. I think it will. But I paused it really quick so that way we could watch it. But I do have other videos and some other stuff I wanted to show you guys. So if we don't get to it, we can always get to it later. But they had somebody on that was talking about DNA specifically, and I liked what she was saying because it was in layman's terms we could understand. I went to school for criminal justice and applied science, but it was years ago. I graduated in 2011. DNA science has come a long way since I was in school. But court documents revealed today that Brian Kohlberger, who is on trial for the murders of 4 University of Idaho students, that there was at the crime scene DNA from 3 unidentified individuals, and they were found under the fingernail of Maddie Mogen. And I believe it was under her left hand, they said, her left fingernails. Now, in my mind, I go right to, Kaylee, the person that killed them, and Maddie, because they were, she was in the bed with Maddie. That makes sense that her DNA would be there. But when I was like looking back through and thinking back through that night, they were around guys at the bar. They're around guys at the food truck. Matt even gives one a hug. So there was contact. She did have contact with other, male individuals that evening. So if it's inconclusive, and they're saying that that's what the defense is saying right now, that it was inconclusive, we'll see. I don't know. There's other tests that they can do to kind of test for like if it's a male, they can test like genetic wise, I guess, but maybe not like put it into CODIS perhaps. Like they don't have enough for that kind of like technology. But let me pull something up here for us. Yeah, it's in the documents. I'm going to pull them up for you guys. Like I said, I couldn't get this document to pull up. Like, I'll show you guys. So if you go here, it's this one, the order sealing defendant's unredacted motion. And when you click on it, it takes me here. So I'm like, okay, but I do have it, and I'll we'll read through it, and then we will discuss, and then we'll see what the people that know a little bit more about DNA think, because I do have a couple videos about DNA. But it says here, this is going to be from Brian Kohlberger. It says motion in lemma number 5, inconclusive data. Now, I don't know. I mean, the defense is doing everything with a purpose. So I don't know if the autism, the stuff coming out about him being autistic is like, this is their plan. This is what their game plan is. I'm not sure, but I'm thinking that we're starting to see what their game is. They're going to try to get him off from the death penalty, and then maybe try to get him off completely. But I don't see them being very successful in most of that. But it says, comes now Brian C. Kohlberger by and through his attorneys of record, and hereby moves the court for an order limiting testimony about the statistical analysis of item Q13.1, fingernail scrapings. Allowing such testimony would violate Mr. Kohlberger's federal and state constitutional rights to due process, a fair trial, effective assistance of counsel, and confrontation of witnesses. This motion is based on the 5th, 6th, and 14th Amendments to the United States Constitution, Idaho Constitution Articles 1, Section 13, and Idaho Criminal Rule 16, and Idaho Rules of Evidence 102, 104, 701, 702, and 703. The request limits are made to secure fairness in administration, to the end the truth may be asserted and proceedings justly determined. Further, the above requested matters are ripe for consideration by the court pursuant to IER 104 based on the existence of issues that involve preliminary questions of admissibility. And they redacted some of this. Of course they did. They redacted the stuff we wanted to know. So the statement of facts are, in grand jury testimony, Jade Miller testified to the results of testing done on item Q13.1. A swab of the left fingernail clipping from Madison Mogen. The data consisted of 3-person mixture. The statistic, the likelihood ratio, was calculated assuming that Madison Mogen was a contributor to her own fingernails. Miller testified that Madison Mogen as followed, and it's redacted. And then there's like a better picture of it. It's kind of like, I had to blow it up, so it's a little fuzzy, so sorry about that. And then let me see, actually. Let me get the other one really quick. I must have like went off of it. Let's see. Okay. This should be the second one. Okay. I'm going to put it on this one, but well, actually, no. Yeah, on this one. Let me try to blow it up. Sorry, guys. I'm usually not this bad at this. It's because like my iPad's in the way. Okay. So the statement of facts are, in grand jury testimony, Jade Miller testified. I just read that part, sorry. So Miller testified that MM as followed, and that part is redacted. The data from that sample was redacted as to Mr. Kohlberger. So I don't know if you guys can figure out what you think that says. GJ transcript at 365, 366, Miller testified that inconclusive means that the analyst is, it's redacted. We can look that part up. I mean, it literally is just what it means. It says often due to factors like low DNA quality or quantity, sample contamination, or mixtures of DNA from multiple sources. That's what can cause inconclusive DNA, which makes sense. Miller went on to explain the likelihood ratio for Mr. Kohlberger, redacted GJ transcript at 367. The use of misleading language, this is the argument, confuses and misleads the finder of fact and is barred by the rules 402 and 403 as well as due process, and that the evidence is overly prejudicial. The erroneous submission of irrelevant and prejudicial evidence will offend due process when it renders a trial fundamentally unfair. Here, expanding beyond the language of the report would prejudice Mr. Kohlberger in that it might allow the jury to infer that the inconclusive data would mean that he might be included. No, if it's, well, yeah, I guess if it's inconclusive, he could be. LRs are different from traditional statistics that courts and juries are used to seeing and hearing. The LR is a comparison of hypothesis. It is not a statement or identity or probability of identity. It simply asks the question, given the data, which hypothesis tested is more likely? For item Q13.1, both hypotheses tested for each individual assumed that MM's DNA was present. So when the lab generated an LR, laid out above, the hypotheses tested were MMKG and one unknown unrelated person versus MM and two unrelated persons. Okay. It made me go back a little bit. Let me see if I can put this one to another page. In her testimony, Miller did not provide a full context to the analysis. The lab reported a series of LRs for item 13.1, including an LR of 0.399 for redacted, 0.485 for redacted, 0.20 for redacted, and 0.023 for redacted. So that's 4. I was thinking that they were like counting out the DNAs, but lab report number 7 at 3. All these individuals sit at the same shoes as Mr. Kohlberger, namely that the LR is exclusionary, but falls in the range. Let's see where we at. Let's see. I'm sorry, guys. Where are we at? Versus. Oh, okay, we're just down here a little bit. I hate doing documents like this. Sorry, guys. I usually always have them, but like I said, my computer just wouldn't let me get this one. It was like, nope, not today. So I have to read it to you guys, and it's like not letting me even make it bigger. So I'm just going to read it like it is. It says here versus MM and 2 unrelated persons. So this comparison was done all for the individual listed in report number 7 and for Mr. Kohlberger in report number 26. At the ISP lab, any number greater than 100 is considered a conclusive result indicating inclusion. Any number less than 0.01 is considered a conclusive result indicating exclusion. Thus, if an LR falls within the range of 0.01 to 100, the lab cannot draw any conclusions and that data is reported as inconclusive. I gotta try to make this a little bit bigger for us. Hold on one second. Oh, it's not even on there. I don't have it on the screen. Y'all, sorry. I'm not with it tonight, apparently. I thought I had these on the screen for you guys. I should have been looking at my iPad, but I couldn't because I was trying to make this bigger for us. Okay. So now you guys can actually see it. I had it in the backstage, like a dummy. Had it in the backstage the whole time. Sorry, guys. It's been a long week. Forgive me. It says in her testimony, Miller did not provide a full context to the analysis. The lab reported a series of LRs for items 13.1, including an LR of 0.399, and those are where it was all redacted, the 4 names. Of interest is that when an LR was calculated for redacted, and it looks like either a period or a comma redacted, thus Mr. Kohlberger's inconclusive LR is similar to almost every other person for whom an LR was generated, and focusing on his inconclusive LR would mislead the jury. And that implies that the LR means that Mr. Kohlberger's DNA might be present in the sample. Well, that's what the prosecution is alleging. So the court should exclude testimony such as, and it's redacted, of course. I think we have like one more page. Maybe it's just down further. There it is, just down further. There we go. So more importantly, Mr. Kohlberger has disclosed that through further independent laboratory testing, he is eliminated as a contributor to item 13.1. How would they be able to do that? If they can't get a result at the FBI lab saying like if it's him or not 100%, they're saying it's inconclusive, then how is the defense able to get it with certainty that it's not him? We'll have to see. When Mr. Kohlberger sought to overturn the grand jury indictment, he argued that Miller's testimony was inadmissible and misleading. The state argued that the testimony was present to the grand jury as exculpatory, and an effort was elicit favorable evidence for Mr. Kohlberger. Sorry. The independent lab testing conducted by the defense related to item 13.1 is indeed exculpatory. Mr. Kohlberger is excluded, and the state should be precluded from misleading the jury in any way. When were they trying to mislead the jury with this? I don't think this would have came out. I mean, unless Ann made this come out, like said something. We didn't know about no DNA under a fingernail. We've been under. There's been a gag order in this case, so we don't know a lot. A fair trial is mandated by Mr. Kohlberger's federal and state constitutional rights to due process. We all know that. A fair trial, effective assistance of counsel, and confrontation of witnesses. And then it gives the U.S. Constitution. Expert testimony improperly elicited must be excluded. So I guess they're saying that it was improperly elicited. Now I'm wondering how much DNA was under her fingernails. And I mean, if she's laying in bed, the way that she would have been laying in bed, I don't know. Like, would that have made her like on her left side? Like he would have been closer to her left side. I'm just trying to see it, picture it, I don't know if she scratched him or if it's just like he cut himself. We don't know, because we don't know exactly how much DNA or what DNA they have. We're learning things every day, it seems like, in this case. Learning now, which is good. But since we're on the kick of the DNA, we're on like the DNA stuff. Let's go over here and try to see if we can watch this live. If not, I have another video we can watch live. But Vinnie Politan pretty much went live with this tonight and at 9:00. So I think it looks like they're at like 9:09. So when I paused it, so they were only about 10 minutes in whenever I paused it. So we'll see what they're talking about. Well, I already know, but I'll let you guys see what they were talking about, because it made sense. It made more sense whenever you could hear it from like somebody that specializes in DNA. And I'm not talking about McDonough. I'm talking about someone else comes on panel and talks about it.
The shoulders from the lab. And so
thank you guys for being here.
You have to take that and say, okay, well, then we have to put that over here in the exclusionary column until we get some additional definitive evidence. And that's what they did by revealing it to the defense.
So, Susanna, the next question is, okay, if let's say he's excluded, or however we want to term it, right? It's it's interesting to hear it explained, because a jury's going to have to understand this. Is there a way to take those the two samples that aren't her, and to determine any information about the source of it, whether it's gender, race, or identity?
You may be able to tell gender. So there are a couple of different markers that we look at that are indicative of males. So they're specific to the male. So we know, obviously we have Maddie, a female. If any of those other markers that are specific to a male pop up, then they could say there's at least one male present. But that would be about it. We don't use the DNA that we do in the forensic lab to do any sort of, ethnicity or racial background or, hair or eye color, any of that. That's all completely separate. So that'd be the farthest we could go, is possibly saying that there's a male present.
Even her putting on that jacket. Remember the jacket Maddie was wearing that night? It looked kind of was like oversized for her. Like it looked like maybe it was a men's jacket. I mean, slipping your hands into the sleeves of a jacket could even probably get DNA under your fingernails.
And is there any other way to put it in a pool of potential people? Like, if you've got a sample like this, would you get enough information where you could run that information through CODIS, and you may not get like one hit, but you might get thousands of hits? Does it work like that, or it doesn't really work like that?
So the samples that are eligible for upload to CODIS they cannot be too much of a mixture because we don't want to have thousands of possible hits to go through. And again, kind of reading between the lines here, it sounds to me that the data is really low level and probably not eligible for CODIS. It's good for comparison to other potential persons of interest, but not for entry into CODIS.
All right, Susanna Ryan, I'm so glad that you're able to come on this program and help us explain this and help us understand this. Chris McDonough is going to stick around. Thanks so much, Susanna. Coming up next, so what does this DNA mean for the trial?
I think you can have DNA on an object at a scene when you know about all of these other things and you don't find probable cause, because there are more questions than there are answers, and all of a sudden this one thing doesn't look as big.
Grieving widow or master?
Oh, what did it do?
Like build.
Oh,
She
it
doesn't
made us
remember
go
a
all the way to
lot
the
of
front.
anything else because she was intoxicated.
Let me see if we can go back, Eddie. I don't think we can. That's okay. We'll watch it from here.
Well, that happens with witnesses.
It's because it went to a
sometimes.
commercial.
She's sleepy. She was fuzzy. But she was clear enough that she saw someone with an athletic build. He was wearing dark, and he had bushy eyebrows.
Did anybody hear? I thought I heard this today, and I think I heard wrong. I think I was hearing something, and I was like, oh, I thought I heard that. But did you guys hear that DM said she thought it was a fireman walking through the house? If no one's heard that, don't put that out there, because that's just me. That's just a me thing. So if you guys haven't heard that, then it probably isn't true. But I was in the other room and I could hear it on the TV in the living room. So it was like I could hear something, but I couldn't really. It was like mumbled. And I was like, did they say she saw a fireman? You heard it, Reba? Okay. So I'm not losing it. You heard it too, Ashley? Oh, okay. Then I did hear. Okay. You guys heard it with me then. Okay. It was on like Fox or something like that. I'm going to find that now. We'll see if they say it on here.
The defense, if this wasn't significant, the defense
Wish we
would
could go
be going
back.
through this motion in limine to exclude this. They understand, and they put in their own pleadings, that this is going to be significant, and it's going to be one of the significant pieces that, in all likelihood, is going to convict Mr. Kohlberger.
Unbelievable. Big thank you, Chris McDonough, John Pryor. Great to have you on the program. Appreciate it. All right, still to come. How important will Dylan's testimony be at the trial?
There's the third interview, and there's references to not.
I'll just like pause it. Oh, turn it down while they're. I think they're going to like a commercial after this, so we could talk while they're doing commercial. Since it made us go up to the live. Sorry about that. I thought we were going to be like, I thought I was going to be sneaky and be able to pause it. I wasn't sneaky. Oh, did you see this though? They are starting to put out like OJ Simpson's trial again. I'm about to stream it. I was a kid when this happened, but I would like to see the trial again. I did watch it when I was a kid just because it was on our TV. We were recording it. My dad was recording it. It was the worst 6 months ever. I think it was like 6 months trial. It was a forever trial. It seemed like, I don't know how long it really was, but it seemed like it took forever. OJ's dead now. OJ gone. You met him, DM? You were in middle school, Reba? I was in, I think, like elementary school, like intermediate or whatever it is, like 4 through 6 or something like that. I was in one of those grades, I think. I was 9. I think so. And hey, Garrett, welcome in, everybody. We're just waiting on the commercial to, go back. There's so much stuff going on in Brian Kohlberger's case. What do you think about the autism aspect of everything? I think that's ridiculous. I told my counselor that today. She's autistic. I was like, yeah, that's what he's using. And she was like, what? I was like, well, I said, I don't know if they've ever like put anybody on death row. Oh, and then they were talking about his OCDs today. And I was like, oh, heck no. Because I have OCDs. I have PTSD. I have all the things, you name it, I got it. Your girl's probably got it. And I've never unalived anybody. I've never hurt anybody. Like, I feel like I'm just as smart as the next person. Do you know what I mean? And like, to where I should be held to the same standards. That's the lamest card in the pack, the Joker, yeah. Oh, damn. I bet your son loved that, though. Hey, Zaza. I'm going to call you Zaza. Zaza. But the lemonade cost $1. Man, remember when they had all those, for OJ Simpson's trial, that all those cars are like all the food vendors were showed up? Oh, man. I think it's an excuse too, Faith. We would have heard about this before. Like, I think he's a hypochondriac. Like, the dude wants to have something. And now she did say something about him excessively washing his hands or something. Now that I would say that's true. We've seen the hands. Now my brother, he never had caught that, and he was OCD, and he was overwasher. Because there's different types of OCD. Like, I'm cleanly, organizational OCD. Everything has a spot, and if it's not in its spot, my mind will go crazy. It's just me. It's just me. But I could see Brian have like a touch of like OCDs or something, and maybe ADHD. But to say he's autistic just because he stares off in the courtroom, that's a little too much for me. I think that we all would be, and I would be throwing myself at the mercy of the court. But if I was Brian Kohlberger, I'd probably be quiet too. I probably wouldn't say much myself. Man, what is this? Commercial. Me too, Faith. My OCD started kicking in even worse after my car accident. I think it's from trauma. I think you could develop them when you have trauma. My brother had OCDs. I mean, I ain't never seen nothing like that in my life. Like, when people would say it, I would take such offense to it because I'm like, no, that's not it. Like, you're like, like OCD is intrusive thoughts. Like, you cannot stop thinking about it. Like, it's, where you can't shut it down. And it's awful. You just got to learn to live your best life with it, As long as my stuff's done, then I'm usually cool. Like, if my cleaning's done, and, like my tidying up, I have like a routine. If I can get it done, then I'm cool.
Remember, the issue was whether or
Yep, Angel, yeah.
not one of the victims ran downstairs. And she didn't say it once. She said it 4 times,
how many times
in a row in the very first interview. And that just didn't happen. It just couldn't have happened. And that was not told. In fact, that statement was brushed over and withheld from the magistrate. About the memory issues in the second interview the same day, there are 2.
Maybe she got the stairs confused. It was really the front stairs, and it was Xana going down for the food. Someone's here.
2 references to not remembering. A couple of days later, there's the third interview, and there's references to not remembering, being drunk, a statement, I don't know any of it. Like half this stuff. I don't know if it's a dream or if it's real. That's at page 399. At page 406, I don't know if this was real or in my mind was just like playing with me. But from what I think I heard, someone was crying in the bathroom.
For a moment, think about what this poor young woman went through, right? She survived, but 4 of her friends were slaughtered inside her home. And she believes, and I believe, that she saw the killer. Wow. And now, you're young, you should be living the best days of your lives, and this has to just be like hanging over her, part of her life, day in and day out. It's not fair. Now, let's take a listen to the prosecutor with their position about Dylan's memory and her testimony and what she saw.
The simple answer is investigators knew what she saw was real. And we know it wasn't a dream because they found the evidence discovered the next morning. That general description, which is what was provided in the PC affidavit, was consistent throughout all of her interviews. She described seeing someone wearing all black, a mask with only a portion of their face showing and visible, This person was male, white. She heard a voice that was not something that she recognized. The person was a slim, skinny, lean build.
I wonder what he's thinking right now.
And the
Wonder what Kohlberger's thinking right now with our like skinny, lean build. I don't know. Maybe he'd be like, "Hey, I'm muscular." She said I was muscular.
person was taller than she is around 5'8".
That brings us to the next question in our investigation. How important will Dylan's testimony be at trial? Joining me, former federal prosecutor, president of the West Coast Trial Lawyers, Nima Rahmani, and criminal defense attorney Josh Schiffer. Nima, this is not an eyewitness to the
I'm sorry, the
crime,
guy with
but
the
an
red
eyewitness
glasses
who apparently saw the killer. How important is her testimony?
Vinny, not that important. This is why, even if there was a definitive identification, there's all sorts of experts who would come and say how eyewitness testimony is unreliable. And here you have someone that has never been able to definitively identify Bryan Kohberger as the person in the house. And she won't be allowed to do it in court because that would be an unduly suggestive identification when she hasn't been able to do it already. Coupled with the fact that she's talked about her memory issues, maybe she was dreaming. If I'm the state, again, lean into the bad evidence. Get up there in opening and say, you're going to hear from Dylan. She was partying that night. She was drinking. She was sleepy. She said she might have been dreaming. She saw a white man, slim, bushy eyebrows, but she was unable to identify the person as Bryan Kohberger. Get her off the stand quickly and move on. Get all those bad facts out that you know the defense is going to try to elicit during cross.
Josh, how important will this testimony of the closest thing we have to an eyewitness in this case?
Yeah, the state's really trying its best to keep the state's really trying to keep this information in while the defense is pushing so hard to keep it out. And that's because of this positive effect that a specific identifiable feature can be on a jury. When you make that kind of direct linkage with the bushiness of the eyebrows and then look at the defendant, it becomes something the state can focus on and anchor for a prosecution. But at the same time, I'm going to agree with my good friend Naima, where this is a bad fact if the defense wants to make it a bad fact. We've got these memory issues, the drinking, the partying, the lack of consistency. If the state overplays some of this information, the defense will rug pull them and basically go, look at what the state's trying to base their arguments on. Bushy eyebrows, when it just so happens she had all this collection of bushy eyebrow art on the wall in her bedroom. And it's those little things like that that eventually create a wave that ends up at reasonable doubt. So if I'm the state, I'm not focusing on this at all. There's too much of a potential gift for the defense.
Did he just say that she had pictures of bushy eyebrow guys drawings on her bedroom? I hope he was kidding. Was he kidding?
Nima, what do you think? How do you think the jury interprets that? Because I think there's a couple different ways you can look at it. The fact that there are apparently drawings that she's done of bushy eyebrows in her room, like not just one picture, but there's pictures around. And this defense,
like her room right now? I've never heard this. I never knew this.
Defendant has bushy eyebrows. He does. There's no doubt he's got bushy eyebrows. But how do they interpret the fact that she's got this room with these images?
That's sad.
Is that something that helps the prosecution or defense in this case? Because I can see it both ways.
That's real
It
sad.
could go both ways, and obviously someone who has an affinity for eyebrows and knows eyebrows. But look, you talked about it when you started this segment, Vinny, someone who is going to be very emotional on a witness stand. I can't imagine the survivor's guilt and trauma that she's experienced, that she's the survivor. And ultimately, right, here's someone that didn't even call the police, right? So we know that that's a fact. And again, I'm not saying that Dylan did anything wrong, but you got to be careful how you present her if you're the state. You certainly don't want to put her first. It's a very risky type of witness that can easily break down on the stand because of all the different issues that we've discussed. And we know because of the very broad gag order that she hasn't talked to anyone. And this is going to be the first time since the beginning of the case that she's going to tell her story. So it could really go either way. So I would not focus a lot of attention on this witness. It's too risky, in my opinion, if you're the prosecution.
All right, we have 5 seconds left here, Josh. 0 to 10. How hard?
$100 gift card for a free quote.
Skating for over 45 years has taken a toll on my body. I take Qunol turmeric because it helps with healthy joints and inflammation support. Why Qunol? It has superior absorption compared to regular turmeric. Qunol.
Let's like refresh the page. What the heck? Okay, and it's just on commercial. Okay, that was weird. I was going to another page, and I think that's what happened. Like, I went to another page. I have a bunch of pages open. That's probably why. Because I was trying to get us some more information. Now I don't know where I was at. Oh, I was trying to go over to the Idaho website. See, like, when I go on the Idaho website, for some reason, the only documents that are up for me are like 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 4. But when I click on the one that I want to read, it just says the page is not available. So I don't know if there's so many people checking it right now or what, and the site's down, but the rest of the files are all there. It's just that one, the main one that I want to read. So that's why I had to get the one off of Twitter, the one that I was reading earlier. Is that what mentions the fireman? Okay, see, I need that. If someone could email me that would be nice. If not, I'll get it tomorrow or something. But yeah, like, I'll show you. Okay, are they? Yeah. Okay. So like when I go over here, I'm trying to get into this one, order sealing defendant's unredacted motion in Lemmy 5. When I click that, this is what comes up. Page not there. So it's just like, I'm like, oh, okay, then don't want to let me have any documents, but it's just that one. Very weird. They're still in commercials, so that's good. I think that they're going to stop redacting a lot of stuff. I have another document up here, and pretty much it's saying moving, like, the parties preserve, the party's persuasive practice of filing material under seal in this case has become norm rather than the exception. Rather than seeking to redact discrete sensitive information, entire documents are filed under seal. Moving forward, the court will require the parties to adhere closely to this rule and only seek to seal and redact material as provided thereunder. And I just given you the minimum. So a bare citation to the rule or collusionary summary without an individualized, rigorous factual and legal analysis of the basis for seeking to have documents sealed will result in a rejection of the request. So don't bring me all of your documents and say, I want to file all these under seal because of A, B, C, and D. We've read those sealing files a million times over. So they're not going to do that. They're like, redact the names, put them under abbreviations, and we're moving forward. And I love that for us. I love that for us. Judge Hippler's like the man. No, I can't see it. It won't usually let you put like links in chat. I'll have to, yeah. But it might get my, I put my email in the chat. It's TitaniumBuiltBoo@gmail.com. That's so crazy. It's letting you guys pull it up and not me. Is this on? What is this?
911 emergency. My mom drove me from my house to the hospital.
This is something else. I think this is like another commercial stuff.
I kept saying to my mom,
oh, it's 10 o'clock now. That's why.
I'm going to die. And she was
that was the end of it. That's why. Okay. I'm like, why was that? Like, that was really quick. So let's go over here and I'll just show you the video I was going to show you earlier. And then we'll wait and we'll listen to Vinny. Okay. I have got so much stuff up. We'll start here. So, because there was a few things I wanted to cover in tonight's live, but we'll just listen to them. They're going to give us an update on the alibi, the new battle over the alibi. So as we all know, Brian Kohlberger said that he was taking a night drive the night of November 13th, November 12th, November 13th in the early morning hours. He started the truck, before midnight, they're saying, on the 12th, and then he was cruising all the way through to, the wee hours of the morning.
College murders and Brian Kohlberger.
Now, if anyone really believes that alibi, I would have said, if anything, I've just been like, I don't know. But to say like you're out looking at the stars and you can look at the weather report and it says it's cloudy, like, and how are you looking at the stars if you're driving? That's a driving hazard.
Kohlberger's alibi. Prosecutors now trying to limit what the defense team can argue at trial. Kana Whitworth is tracking the case. Good morning, Kana.
Yeah, George, good morning to you. So the prosecution wants to limit any alibi claims of solo stargazing to words from the defendant himself. They also want to restrict evidence suggesting someone else is responsible, and they want to exclude Brian Kohlberger's mental health evaluations.
This morning, a new legal battle brewing over accused killer Brian Kohlberger's alibi. In a new filing, the prosecution arguing the judge should limit the evidence Kohlberger.
Rich, but it is. It is, honey. When you're charged with 4 first-degree murders and a burglary, yeah, it's everybody's business to know. We have the right to know as the public, and he has the right to tell his story.
Kohlberger's attorneys can present to support his alibi for the November 2022 murders of Kaylee Gonzalez, Madison Mogen, Xana Kernodle, and Ethan Chase.
Okay, you're disgusting. So I'm banning that person. They're just very disgusting.
Kohlberger's attorneys, who say their client is innocent, have alleged that he was driving alone.
He said, I would say that I was effing your mother. That's what that guy just wrote in the chat. Like, no, nobody, you're not going to be in the chat doing that.
Alone, stargazing the night 4 University of Idaho students were stabbed to death in an off-campus home.
Right,
but as the
Ladybug?
August trial approaches, prosecutors are asking a judge to bar Kohlberger's defense team from offering any evidence beyond Kohlberger's own words to support that claim.
Can they do that? Because he could plead the fifth, right? He doesn't have to testify. But they're saying they want his words.
Saying the defense has had 20 months to provide material to back it up and has not.
The defense is making the argument that Brian Kohlberger was out for a drive in no specific area or place, and that's his alibi. And they presented no witness to be able to testify to that. So the prosecution is arguing that if the defense does raise any argument about alibi, they would have to come from Brian Kohlberger and no other source.
The prosecution also requesting to ban the defense team from offering any psychiatric evaluations and evidence. This after Kohlberger's defense team filed under seal a motion to strike the death penalty on account of autism spectrum disorder. Prosecutors also asking the court to bar references to alternative culprits unless they have evidence specifically connecting them to the homicides.
Now, lead defense attorney Ann Taylor had argued unsuccessfully in the past that other male DNA profiles at the crime scene were not properly investigated. Also, prosecutors alerting the court that during the trial, they plan to use this. It's a 3D model of the King Road house that was demolished. And a reminder, guys, this trial is still slated to start in August.
Yeah, it is.
Oh, that's all of it. Okay. Move on to the next one. And I'll shut this one off. Okay. They just went over a little bit of the DNA, but so if they're saying that it's inconclusive to Brian Kohlberger's, they're saying that there was 2, from what I remember hearing, I was listening into the other room and I was like, what am I hearing right now? It sounded like there were 2 major contributors and then 1 minor contributor. And when I was looking into what that meant, it meant how much DNA you have, Maddie would be a major contributor. Maybe Kaylee beside her, with it, if it was BLOD, maybe that's a major contributor. Maybe skin cells is a minor contributor. I was still looking into it right before our live, actually, because I was really curious about it. But so he's saying, there's a lot of stuff just coming out in this case in general. So he's saying that, he has autism. I don't know if he's going to still continue with the visual snow, why he is diagnosed. When was he diagnosed? with autism. Is this a diagnosis he's had since he was a kid or a teenager, a young adult, or did he just get diagnosed with this last week? Because Ann Taylor needed him to have autism, I don't know. I think they're trying to use that to get him off of the death penalty, and his IQ is just too much. It's going to be too high. And they say that I think your IQ has to be like under 60 or 70 or something like that to be like considered for it. I don't know, but she's trying. You can't say she's not trying. Exactly right, Ashley. That's what I was thinking. It might have been, Matt. They were talking about it being exculpatory, not inculpatory in the filing, so they could be saying that. They said that it was inconclusive. Now, they did say that they could go in. There are like databases that you can go in and you can, or like companies, they can get like the eye color, the hair color, the genetic background, like more of the markers met. If it's male or female, they'll be able to tell, I guess, that. I don't know if they tested for that though. And I would hope they did. I would hope. Bill Thompson, he sits very, he sits with confidence in my mind. Like he's always just leaned back in his chair, just letting Ann go on and go on and go on. And so I'm assuming that he's going to drop a bomb like this on us at some point. Whether, I think it's going to be something with DNA. And I feel like if his DNA does not come up and under one of these people's nails, that would be shocking. Because we've heard that, some of the victims fought. So.
Was arrested 28-year-old Brian Christopher Kohlberger.
You never know. Like that, our neighbor was, a possible quadruple murderer.
This morning, we're spotlighting the Idaho student murders case against defendant Brian Kohlberger. And did you get a load of this new development? There's motion from the defense team to strike the death penalty. And in a brief description, it reads, regarding autism spectrum disorder. The motion itself is under seal, though, which is so frustrating for us because we can't read the motion and know exactly what's being argued, but we can make some inferences. We know that one CDC study estimates about 5.5 million Americans are living with autism spectrum disorder right now. So what might Kohlberger's defense team be trying to do here? So many questions on this one. Let's bring in our guest. So pleased to have here criminology expert, author, and professor at St. Thomas University, Dr. Debbie Goodman. And with us, retired criminal defense attorney, someone who did death penalty work for many, many years in Arizona. You may recognize the name of one of the people whose life he saved, Jodi Arias, attorney Kirk Nurmi on the program too. All right. So let's start a little bit with this legal filing. Because Kirk, I think a lot of people are going, what? Could this be a valid legal reason to get this off the table? What do you think, please?
Well, not in a judicial sense, but at least not right now, Julie. It's really a complicated answer. But one of the things the Supreme Court has said, so from a legal basis, a legal standpoint, is that someone cannot be executed if they don't have a rational understanding of why they were executed. Now, execution, if this sentence were imposed on Mr. Kohlberger, would be 15 years down the road statistically. So the judge is going to, the defense team is going to want to put this in front of the judge, probably going to be rejected as a exclusionary factor right now, but it is going to maybe play down the road 15 years when the habeas attorneys are taking a look at this. The other thing this does when they raise the specter of it is, remember, mitigation in a death penalty case doesn't have to be correlated to the crime. It's not an excuse for the crime, but it could be a reason for the jurors to give mercy. And you put that out there, and you bring that forward during the sentencing phase of a trial, and one juror, and all it takes is one, is to say his connection to autism might be enough for a reason for me to give him mercy and not sentence him to death to begin with. So there's multiple layers to a filing of this nature, and then we can expect to see expert testimony at the sentencing phase. It really exclusively is going to deal with that sentencing phase and ultimate prospect of execution.
I really appreciate that, Kirk. Okay, so it's almost like we have to think about this trial in two parts and think about, okay, this isn't something that would come into the guilt innocence phase where the jury's on that fact-finding mission of what occurred here. This would only come into play if he's convicted. And then, as you said, mercy could be, one of the reasons that this may be cited. Dr. Debbie Goodman, I want to start by playing a clip for you. We haven't heard Bryan Kohberger talk a whole heck of a lot, but let's go back to that day and that traffic stop with his dad before he was arrested.
He was right up on the back end of that van, pulled you over for tailgating. Is this your car? Okay, cool. Where are you headed? Well, we coming from WSU, and what's WSU?
University, basically. That is SWAT team and everything.
I'm surprised there wasn't more about this. He's saying he witnessed this police incident. Dr. Debbie, let's dig in a little bit on this. What do you think of his reaction there, the interaction with the police officer? Your thoughts, love to hear them.
Sure. I think, Julie, that this individual is completely aware of, attuned to exactly what I believe his role was here in this case, and the level of planning and premeditation and preparation that had to have gone into this. But that clip would also suggest to me certainly somebody lucid, fairly relaxed. A lot of people aren't that calm, let's say, when pulled over by law enforcement. Also, he was using a good eye contact. So I know the focus of the conversation is about autism and how that may play into a potential mercy issue or status regarding the death penalty. But I really feel that we're looking at and listening to a hedonistic killer who, and there is such a classification, Julie. Some of these mass murderers, serial killers that we discuss on your program certainly derive pleasure from beginning, middle to the end. And I almost feel in that clip, he had a little sense of pride and pleasure knowing that he would be able to drive away and wouldn't be handcuffed that day.
Ooh, that's interesting, Dr. Debbie. Yeah, let's talk some more, getting into his mind. I think that's what everybody wants to do. And when at first I heard this, I think we were all disappointed. We can't read the motion, but at least we can make the inference that perhaps he is living with autism. He's also highly intelligent, as many people living with autism are. I'm thinking to even get into the PhD program to study criminology, you have to be very smart. To be a teaching assistant, as he was, very smart. I don't know who's going to have mercy for this guy. Dr. Debbie, could you speak to that, please? The kind of analysis that you do in your field, I would imagine not easy, is it?
100%, Julie. Very involved, very analytical. Again, as you know, my background, I've been a professor for 30 years and have had just the great pleasure and honor of working with thousands of men and women who are today's FBI, DEA, Secret Service, Homeland Security. And yes, he is an accomplished individual academically, which would also speak to one's level of devotion, dedication, and determination, quite frankly, to obtain a bachelor's degree, a master's degree. And yes, at the PhD level, we look at that process really as the pinnacle of academia. And although he was just in the early onsets of the study, I can assure you at those levels, it really is a deep dive into the forensic psychology, the psyche of mass and serial murderers. And as you've heard me say before, I truly think he was participating in his own social experiment. He was well read about Ted Bundy and Dennis Rader, and he wanted to see if he could get away with it. And I think if he did, Julie, he would have become a serial killer.
And Dr. Debbie, before we have to let you go, I know you've got a theory you've developed on this case. It's so brilliant, and you have an acronym to remember it easily. Would you kind of walk us through your theory, the acronym, and how it fits on the facts, please?
Yes, thank you, Julie. So for the case, I created the JAR theory, JAR, jealousy, anger, revenge. I truly believe that this suspect was jealous of our victims, Maddie, Kaylee, Zaina, Ethan, both individually and collectively. I think he was angry that he did not have a social network at the time, 28 years old, really apart from rather than a part of any type of social dynamic, and ultimately took the revenge by taking their lives. And just how sad, brutal, and tragic all of this is. But I believe he knew exactly what he was doing. He knew what he was doing was wrong. He wanted to see if he could get away with it. And thankfully, he did not.
Oh, son of a gun, I was muted. That's okay. I wasn't saying much. I was just talking about this document. I was just thanking Karina for getting me the document. I was saying I didn't see this one. It didn't come up on my side. So I won't go through we're going to go through it, but I'm going to skip over, when they start citing other cases, because I feel like that can confuse us. I'm just going to get right to the meat and potatoes of it. And thank you, Mary Beth, for giving out 5 memberships. That's very kind of you. Thank you. Sorry about that. I didn't even realize I was muted. You know me, though. I always got to do something crazy in the show. It says here, comes now Brian Kohlberger through his attorneys of record and pursuant to the Idaho rules of evidence, moves the honorable court for an order in limine excluding any evidence referencing bushy eyebrows. Quotes. More specifically, the defense asserts that rules 403, 601, and 602 of the Idaho Rules of Evidence bar witness, DM, hereafter DM, from using the words bushy eyebrows or identifying Mr. Kohlberger in that manner. Why? If that's how she's identified him before. That's like the one characteristic that she can use to identify him. That's probably why. I think I answered my own question. The issue of witness identification is a critical one in a trial that is subject of much litigation. This is because the reliability of witness identification is the linchpin in determining the admissibility of identification information. Failure to challenge unreliable witness identification can result, let me put this up a little bit, in finding that trial counsel performed was deficient and provide a basis for overturning a conviction. In this case, the description provided by DM is unreliable and should be excluded. Although she has never identified Mr. Kohlberger, testimony by DM from the witness stand describing bushy eyebrows while Mr. Kohlberger sits in the accused at trial will be as damning as her pointing to him and saying he is the man that did this. Well, then maybe you should get his eyebrows done. When considering whether identification by a witness is reliable, the Idaho Supreme Court has applied the Manson-Biggers balancing test, which looks at the opportunity of the witness to view the criminal at the time of the crime, 2, the witness degree of attention, 3, the accuracy of the witness prior description of the criminal, 4, the level of certainty demonstrated at the identification, and 5, the length of time between the crime and the identification. When Manson-Biggers balancing test is applied to the facts of this case, the reliability of the witness identification is non-existent. DM is the only person alive who is known to have seen the intruder. She only saw the intruder briefly. Her recollection or lack thereof is filled with uncertainty, fuzziness, and influence of alcohol, dreaming, and sleepiness. She did not see the intruder well enough to describe him to a composite artist. After Mr. Kohlberger was arrested, she did not recognize him from a photo. A, bushy eyebrows. Interviews on November 13th, 2022. On November 13th, 2022, DM was inside the house when the murders occurred and saw a figure dressed in black when she peeked out of her bedroom door around 4 a.m. Shortly after seeing the intruder, she went downstairs to Bethany Frank's room. The two girls fell asleep. Roughly 8 hours later, a 911 call was made from Bethany Frank's phone at 11:56 a.m. That's all new stuff. We didn't know about that. We had suspected that, she probably went downstairs and slept with Bethany, but we didn't know. More than 8 hours after seeing the intruder, DM was interviewed by law enforcement at the scene and at the police department. It was confusing to DM that the intruder looked at her but did not come towards her or say anything. When describing the intruder to Officer Nunes at the scene, she described the height, build, and clothing of the intruder. Her description did not mention eyebrows. When she called Bethany Frank before going downstairs to Bethany's room, DM said she was kind of in and out of it. I was really tired. Later, when she was interviewed at the police department, Detective Mowry inquired about facial features and asked DM if she knew what color the intruder's eyebrows were. She did not know the color of the intruder's eyebrows or eyes or eyebrows. Everything was kind of blurry, like I don't fully remember it. During the Mowry interview, DM again mentioned that she was in and out of it because she was so tired. Number 2 is pictures on November 13th, 2022. Law enforcement took pictures of DM's room on November 13th, 2022 and November 19th, 2022. On the walls in her room were many pictures of eyes with prominent eyebrows. How'd she have pictures of the eyebrows drawn before the crime happened? Like November 13th, the crime happened. So she didn't go back into the house after that. So that's kind of weird. Like, does she have these drawings before the murders? Hey, Ava. Yeah, I've been saying funk, haven't I? Yeah, I don't know. That's weird. So it says, according to Detective Blake, he found artwork of human figures with an emphasis upon the eyes and eyebrows were pinned to corkboards. I've got a bunch of pictures, probably like 300 pictures from the rooms and stuff. I should go through them and see if I can find these pictures, if there's any pictures in there. There's so many to go through, though. Okay. That's a little weird. Interview on November 17th. On November 17th, 2022, 4 days later, DM was interviewed by Detective Gooch, who indicated that she was really asleep and probably very drunk when she woke up around 4 a.m. on November 13th, 2022. Throughout the interview, DM expressed uncertainty about what she heard and saw and did not know if it was real or if it was a dream or if her mind was playing with her. It just doesn't make sense. DM described the intruder and told Detective Gotch that she recalls seeing his eyebrows, his bushy eyebrows, but she did not recall the color of his eyebrows. She did not remember the eyes or the mouth, just the eyebrows. When she saw the intruder, she thought that the intruder was about 3 feet away from her, but she could be off since she was still a little bit drunk. She did not think that she could remember enough to give a composite for a composite artist. She could just recall the bushy eyebrows, but not the shape or color of them. Well, it sounds to me she was being very honest. In this interview, Detective Gotch asked if DM had anxiety, which led DM stating that she had a lot of lucid dreams of being kidnapped or chased. She indicated that she watched Criminal Minds and Fell Asleep to Crime podcast. These lucid dreams began in high school. So these started in high school for her. I go to Sleep to Crime podcast and I sleep like a baby. I guess that's probably because I don't know why I do, but I do. Interview on December 1st. And I bet you that was something her and Kaylee, had in common, that they listened to podcast, true crime podcast. So on December 1st, 2022, a half a month later, Deanne was interviewed again and described the intruder. She did not see his eyes, but she saw one eyebrow or two, but it was just like this bushy eyebrow. I could just see like an eyebrow, this bushy eyebrow. She did not remember the color or the shape of the eyebrow. She just remembered it being bushy. She did not remember if she saw one eyebrow or two. Throughout the interview, DM indicated that she had always had really bad dreams, lucid dreams, and scary dreams. She did not know what parts of her recollections were dreams and what parts were real. Man. Thank you, Mary Beth. Oh, we love you too. Thank you. So sweet. That's very sweet of you. Thank you. So it says, throughout the interview, that's about the lucid dreams. When she woke up that morning, the morning of November 13th, she did not fully understand what was a dream or not. In this interview, she indicated that she thought that the person she saw was a fireman. Firemen carry axe. I mean, that's a lot different looking than a K-bar knife. But I mean, if she saw something just sharp, and what the hell would he be wearing? I mean, other than the Dickie things to make him look like a fireman. Man, her mom was playing tricks on her or something. I don't know. So it's a statement affidavit to support arrest warrant. On December 29th, 2022, a statement submitted by law enforcement in support of the arrest warrant used descriptive information from DM's interviews. DM described the figure as 5'10" or taller, male, not very muscular, but athletically built with bushy eyebrows. Interview on December 30th. On December 30th, 2022, after the arrest of Mr. Kohlberger, DM was interviewed by Detective Lake and Detective Tolson. When she learned that an arrest had been made, she found a mugshot of Mr. Kohlberger online. She didn't need to find it. It would have probably been right there in front of her. Like, everybody saw that. When asked if Mr. Kohlberger was the person that she saw in the house, she did not know if Mr. Kohlberger was the intruder. She knew that the intruder had looked at her because of the bushy eyebrow. So it could have just been one bushy eyebrow, could have been two. We don't know. If the person's coming around that corner, though, right, from Xana's room, there probably could be looking down at that step. Because that step, there's that 4-inch step right there. So he could have been like coming around the corner when she peeked out the door and she just saw like, you know, maybe like half of his face, maybe only half of it illuminated like with that light, that good vibes light that's in the hallway there. And maybe, you know, that's why she only saw the one or just saw his eyebrows and that's it. It says subsequently, DM provided grand jury testimony and was questioned about what the intruder was wearing. She was again uncertain, and that testimony is attached but not quoted verbatim here. Reliability of witness identification. DM peeked out her bedroom door 3 times after 4 a.m. on November 13th, 2022. The third time she saw a figure dressed in black. At the scene, she described the intruder as, he was a little bit taller than me, and I couldn't really see much of him, but I'm almost positive he was wearing a full black outfit. And he had this mask that was just over his forehead and over his mouth. That's changed. That changed. Her description before was just over the nose and mouth. And this is saying forehead and mouth. Like a, whatever they're called. You know, I can't think of the word, I can't think of the word, but you know, where they're like the whole like face is pretty much covered, except for like just the eyes are out. Yeah, well, or what if we could have had a helmet of some sort of one? I probably did have something over his head or over his hair. You would think that he would have something to hold because you don't want to leave DNA like hair behind. So yeah. It's just, and it says, and he didn't say anything to me like at all. Maybe he didn't see her. At the police department, her description of the intruder was similar. And then I opened the door again and the guy is right there. And he's maybe my height, a few inches taller, not like skinny, athletic build. He has all black. He's wearing this mask that covers just his forehead and here, and it goes like around. And he was white. There were no lights on the stairs. DM was uncertain whether either the kitchen light or the bathroom light was on. The kitchen light might have been on, but the twinkle lights in the living room may have been on. Okay. Agree of attention. DM acknowledged that her brain might have been fuzzy due to alcohol and sleepiness when she saw the intruder. She stated that she had been drinking alcohol just hours prior to peeking out her bedroom door sometime around 4 a.m. and seeing an intruder. She was intoxicated when she arrived home around 1:15, 1:30ish. She was probably very drunk and tired when she saw the intruder at 4 a.m. Accuracy of description. When asked if she could see the intruder's face, she testified that, "I wouldn't say I fully remembered their face, but I remember seeing his eyebrows, so at some point I probably did see his face and don't remember it." That's trauma. During other interviews, she said he was wearing a mask. During each interview, DM was uncertain. On December 30th, 2022, after the arrest of Mr. Kohlberger, DM was interviewed by Detective Lake and Detective Tolson. When she learned that an arrest had been made, she found a mugshot of Mr. Kohlberger online. When asked if Mr. Kohlberger was the person she saw at the house, she did not know if Mr. Kohlberger was the intruder. She knew the man had looked at her because of the bushy eyebrow. All that she remembers is some bushy eyebrow and all black and some sort of mask. Several weeks after the murders, DM thought that the person she saw was a fireman. In her mind, DM thought that the intruder went out of the back sliding door, but she doesn't know if he actually went out the back door. The sliding back door was not visible from the doorway of DM's bedroom. I have a question for DM. Were the chairs there prior, or did the cops put the chairs in the back door? I would like to know that. At approximately 4 a.m. on November 13th, 2022, DM saw the intruder. Roughly 8 hours later, the 911 call was made. More than 8 hours after seeing the intruder, DM provided a very limited and uncertain description of the intruder to two different officers. On November 17th, 2022, 4 days later, DM did not think that she could sufficiently describe the intruder for a composite artist. On December 30th, 2022, after Mr. Kohlberger's arrest, DM could not recognize Mr. Kohlberger from a photo. Further, by the time that DM testifies at trial later this year, more than 3.5 years will have passed since the murders occurred on November 13th, 2022. That's no fault of DM. Argument is case law and Idaho Criminal Rule 601 and 602 excludes evidence of bushy eyebrows. With certain exceptions, every person is competent to be a witness. IRE 601. Incompetency determined by the court occurs when persons whom the court finds are incapable of receiving just impressions of the facts about which they are examined or of relating them accurately. Idaho law tends to favor the finding of competency. Under IRE 602, a witness must have sufficient personal knowledge of the matter to which he or she is testifying. If the jury or other tier of fact could reasonably find that the witness perceived the event, evidence to prove personal knowledge may consist of the witness's own testimony. When considering whether identification by a witness is reliable, the Idaho Supreme Court has applied that Manson-Biggers balancing test, which looks at 1, the opportunity of the witness to view the criminal at the time of the crime, 2, the witness' degree of intention, the accuracy of the witness' prior description of the criminal, the level of certainty demonstrated at the identification, and the length of time between the crime and the identification. When the Mason-Biggers balancing test is applied to the facts of this case, there is no reliable witness identification, as explained in detail above. DM's opportunity to view was seconds at most. Her attention was influenced by alcohol and sleepiness, and the only identifying attributes are height in relation to her own, a skinny athletic build, and a bushy eyebrow. He was wearing a mask. She has repeatedly, each time interviewed, expressed uncertainty about what she saw. These general descriptors have fit millions of individuals. Her uncertainty is repeated in each interview, and at least 8 hours passed before she interviewed the first time. 6 weeks passed before she was interviewed by law enforcement the final time, and 6 months passed when she testified before the grand jury. Balancing the Mason-Biggers factors, there is no reliability of the physical characteristics that DM has reported. Mr. Kohlberger does not have bushy eyebrows, but the artwork on DM's wall that which should draws eyes. That's wrong. Okay. They wrote this wrong. Which she draws eyes with eyebrows could be described as bushy, full, or prominent. There is great risk that at trial in front of a jury, her testimony will be viewed as a clear identification of Mr. Kohlberger. This would be a false identification and would prejudice the proceedings in a way that must be avoided. Trying to get her testimony thrown out. Rule 403 excludes evidence of bushy eyebrows as irrelevant and unfairly prejudicial. To be admissible, evidence must be relevant. Evidence is relevant if A, it has a tendency to make a fact more or less probable than it would be without the evidence, and the fact of its consequence is determining the action. Whether a fact is of consequence or material is determined by its relationship to the legal theories presented by the parties. In this case, if evidence of bushy eyebrows is not relevant to the crimes charged and would not tend to make any material or dispute fact of the crimes charged in this case more probable or less probable than it would be without the evidence. The purpose of admitting such testimony is for identification purposes. Given the argument above, each testimony is admissible. There is no other relevant reason to allow this testimony. Under IER 403, this court may exclude evidence related to bushy eyebrows if its probative value is substantially outweighed by the danger or one or more of the following: unfair prejudice, confusing the issues, misleading the jury, undue delay, wasting time, or needlessly presenting cumulative evidence. This rule requires the court to balance the probative value of the evidence against the danger that the evidence may be unfairly prejudicial. Even assuming this court concludes that the descriptive words bushy eyebrows are somewhat relevant, whatever minimal probative value they may have is substantially outweighed by the danger of unfair prejudice and confusion of the issues. Unfair prejudice is prejudice that tends to suggest a decision on an improper basis. DM could not recall enough details about the intruder to provide a description to a composite artist. Allowing her to use the descriptive words bushy eyebrows confuses the issues. If evidence of bushy eyebrows is presented to the jury might well believe that Mr. Kohlberger is guilty simply because of bushy eyebrows. That's why you don't get your jury out of a Cracker Jack box. You know, you question the jurors before you have your jury. I mean, that's just, as a consequence, there's danger that the jury would reach a decision of an improper basis due to the evidence that is unfairly prejudiced. In conclusion, for the reasons addressed above, Mr. Kohlberger respectfully requests this court grant his motion in limine to exclude DM from using the words bushy eyebrows to identify the intruder that she saw, and to exclude DM from identifying Mr. Kohlberger based on bushy eyebrows. Well, she doesn't have to point to him and say that's him. She wasn't going to do that. She can't do that. She's already said that. She can't identify him, but she can identify that the person that came into her home had bushy eyebrows. That's her testimony. I mean, do you think the judge is going to throw her testimony out? I don't think he will. Hey, Aries. I was wondering where you were. I'll take my news update somewhere. Where are you going, Aries? My belly just growled a lot. And I ate right before my live. I was reading the chat. Hey, SSD. Yeah, she's trying to waste some time. Oh gosh, politics. Yeah, Ava, I do too. I think that his eyebrow. Yeah, if it was okay, so if that was Vincent, I needed to show you guys a picture. It just this. I don't know if this one will give. I don't know if this picture does him justice, but I'm going to show it to y'all anyway. Okay, so Vincent, my boyfriend, I'm going to stop sharing it. I'm going to show you this picture. You're going to be like, what? So my boyfriend has bushy eyebrows. Like these two little caterpillars he's got on his head, on his face. Now to me, those are bushy. When I see Brian Kohlberger, I don't really think bushy, but I've been with someone for 9 years that has bushy eyebrows. Like his eyebrows are like so thick. They're so thick. So I don't know. Whenever I saw Brian Kohlberger first, I didn't think that his eyebrows looked that bushy, but I think it's his eyebrow bones that make them more prominent. if that makes sense. But that's Vincent. Oh, I didn't see what happened. SSD. Right, Karina? They don't want the words crime, murder, murdering, none of that. Yeah. Oh, man. They need to share some more stuff with us, though. I'm excited that we're getting documents and they're unsealing things. And thank you, Karina, for sending me that. That was awesome. Mine are starting to turn white too, Angel. Like my the ones that are like real, well, it's actually fine. It's just the ones that I need to like pluck, those ones. Those ones are the ones that I'm like, that's so weird. Thanks, Mary Beth. It's heavy. This hair is super heavy. I will say that. I don't know if you guys saw, but I got a lot of hair. A ton of hair put on my head day before yesterday. And they braided it all in and it's just like heavy. I'm not used to this much. Even when I had a lot of hair, I'm not used to this much. Your eyelashes, I think one of mine is like blonde. I pluck it. It's in my eye, like in my prosthetic side. So I pluck it. If it was in my real eye, I don't think I would have the nerve. He is Nash Native. He's very smart. He's ready to get this trial like going. Because like when I told Vincent today, I thought that it said it was DNA, Brian's DNA. When I first like was hearing it, and I told Vincent that, I was like, I think they said it was his DNA. I was like, what? I was like, this is insanity. Like, because I didn't know what I had heard it right when I heard it. And the first person, the first person I saw post it, JLR. He posted it over on Twitter, and I was like, or X, and I was like, what's he talking about? Like, because JLR can sometimes just put stuff out there. And then I like looked it up like 2 seconds. It was like I saw like 4 articles about it, and I was like, oh. So I personally think that the DNA underneath Maddie's fingers is going to be, if they can't test it and they don't have a result, I personally think it's Maddie's, Kaylee's, and probably Brian Kohlberger's. That's who I'm thinking. Your eyebrows are red, probably because your hair's red. Oh my gosh, did you guys see that they're doing, you might know about this, Mary Beth. They're doing a crime cruise. A crime cruise. Have you heard about it? Let me see if I can look it up. I want to go. Like, I don't want to go on a cruise, actually. No, I do. I do want to go. It was like a cruise or something, it said. Like, look at this. Crime Cruise 2025. They really do have it. Let's see. Oh, this doesn't look fun. Like, the first picture doesn't look fun. Like, I'm not trying to be on a cruise and just be hanging out in an auditorium. Look at this. That does not look fun to me. Now, what else we got? Programming. All crime cruise programming, non-VIP and activities. Okay. Private opening night reception with open bar, hot and cold. What is that? Canopies? I don't know how to say it. We're going to see what it says.
Canopies.
Canopies. I was saying right. Okay. Meals, all meals in the main dining venues with reserved group dinner seating in the main dining room. Okay. Ship activities. What's those? I wonder. Ocean transport and accommodations. What's not? Air transportation, transfer, shore excursions, photographs. Man, they don't do nothing. Cost of medical services, bottled water, soda, alcoholic beverages. What do you pay for? Specialty restaurant dining, goods purchased on board, spa and salon services, items of personal nature. Okay, gratuities for casino dealers, spa personnel, or bar services. Choose a bad. They're sold out. What? How are you going to be sold out already? Well, good thing I don't like the ocean. Can't get my hair wet anyway. But they said that, well, who they said? They said what's the guy's name? His son was murdered in the 80s. John Walsh. Him and his son are putting it on. I don't know. I was just wanting to know how much their cruise packages was. How much? Look, sold out. Everything's sold out. When are we going again? book a flight. I'm not going to book a flight to Miami. I can't get on the boat. Oh, I'm traveling solo. Can you help me find a roommate? Oh, that's kind of weird. I mean, I guess I wouldn't be. Any discounts available? We got like any discounts where we can all like, go together? Monthly payment plan. Look at that. 4 payment plan. I just want to know how much it is. I'm just curious. $200 for a person initial deposit, $400 deposit for single occupants. Okay. Plus a $99 initial deposit for a standard event badge, or $200 for VIP event badge. And then a second deposit equal to 33% of the remaining reservation. What? Can you just give me a number? Well, I guess we're not going on a cruise. Oh, we're going on Groupon? Does Groupon got them? Groupon, man. Groupon's the way to go sometimes. I'd like to go on a cruise. I really wouldn't like a cruise. I really wouldn't. I don't know why I'm saying that. I used to love the ocean until that stupid Titan imploded. That guy ruined my water excursions now. When is the Denver one? It's coming up too. I'll have to make it there someday to go to CrimeCon because I need to. Oh, yeah. Well, I wouldn't be part of that, Ava. Not yet. But, and actually maybe I would, because I don't know a whole lot of true crime creators anymore. I don't know where they all went, but we're left with a lot of drama creators. So I could maybe get a ticket, be like, hey, we still be talking about crimes over here. We're still talking about crimes. But thank you for like an Oasis concert. Thank you guys for being here tonight. I appreciate it. And thanks for the cup, Mary Beth. I finally got to use it. I haven't drank any hot chocolate this winter. And Vincent was drinking some today, and I was like, that sounds good. They are Nash Native. They're like, it's so crazy. The drama is so deep, Ava. It's like you need your waiters. I was telling my counselor today about it. Oh, by the way, she said the LGBTQ community that she's a part of also, she doesn't want Casey Anthony. So sorry, Casey Anthony. No one wants you. Nobody wants you. She's like, we don't want her over here. We don't want her over here. I was telling my counselor about how we talked about her last night. So, we don't want her. She said she's going to be a victim's advocate. Oh my good golly. Oh, I have so many updates for you guys. So, in prayers, SSD, and jail wants her. They do. I think jail does want her. So really quick, they're still looking, for Dane. I'm just going to look it up right now, because if I don't, I'll be like, oh my gosh. So 3 hours ago. Okay. So they're focusing, and I'll do a better update for you guys, but they are focusing more on the river. It's day 5 in the search for him. As you guys know, he does live right up by the river, right 100 yards from his door to the river, pretty much. He was outside unattended by himself. They're concentrating their search efforts on the river as of now. They came out, they did a press conference. I wanted to do a live today, and I just got so busy I didn't get the chance to. And then there, Shanquilla Robinson, there's an update. I'm not sure exactly what the update is on that case, but I'm going to find out, because I saw that there was an update. But it was right before the live. I didn't get a chance to read into it. So remember the girl that got beat in Mexico by her so-called friends? I pray that there's arrest warrants. That's I'm praying for. And then also the Kansas City Chiefs, the 3 guys that were outside, they've died outside of their friend's house. There's an update. There's 2 arrests in that case. So we're going to be talking about all of that and much more this week and this weekend on their lives. So if that's something you're into, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. And if you don't know the cases I'm talking about, I always fill you guys in. I fill you in and let you know what the case is as we're going over it. So there's some stuff going on. There are some stuff going on. So I'm excited that we're getting some answers in these cases a little bit more. I mean, and just think, spring's coming. We are going to be out in the sun for spring. Like, get away from this computer, get outside and enjoy the spring, enjoy the summer, swim, go eat with your family, cookouts, bonfires, do the whole thing, right? And then at the end of August or the beginning of August, end of July, when we're all ready to kind of sit in anyway, because it's getting just a little too hot, that's when Brian Kohlberger will be in the hot seat, and we'll be here to stream his trial and watch it. So, but thank you guys for being here tonight. I appreciate it. So it's in September. It's coming up. It's not too far from, I mean, it's kind of far from now. But thank you guys for being here tonight. I appreciate it so much. I'll be back on tomorrow. I might do, like I said, a day live. If I do, I'll either do a day live or I'll do a pre-recorded. I'll try to do one or the other because I do have to go up and get a mouth guard at the dentist tomorrow, and it's an hour and a half away. So, but then after that, I'm free for the weekend. So thank you guys for being here. I'll see you guys all later tomorrow. Don't forget, hit the like button if you guys don't mind. Subscribe to the channel. Mary Beth, thank you for the gifted memberships and the $10 super sticker. That was very sweet of you. And I will see you guys all in the next video. Bye, guys.
Just like the street lights lit this town, like a fire in a blaze, got a